be lying if they haven't thought about having the premiership medallion around their neck after the game.
Melbourne have been to some dark places, and now they're just a win away from being on top of the football world.
That siren goes and we win. Just the feeling with your best mates, it's just surreal.
They're into their 4th grand final in 97 seasons.
We both wanted as much as each other. It's going to be a great grand final, and I think personally these teams balance up really well where it's going to be grand finals for years on.
From Auskick, it's what you dream to do, and to have a chance to be able to achieve that, something I'm really excited to happen, and hopefully it does.
Norton flies!
They're very impressive, the Dogs. Everything you think they are, they are. We're both territory teams, we've both got strong midfields, and we both play a really strong forward half game, so it's going to be a big part of the game.
Unbelievable scenes here at the Adelaide Oval.
I've been watching them actually a lot. They're unbelievable. The whole team's really unbelievable.
Whiteman! What about that climb?
They're a real strong unit, strong team, and I've got a huge amount of respect for them as a group. Their midfield in particular is incredible.
Bottom Valley, sensational stoppage work for the Dogs.
So I think they're really well balanced. I think they're a strong contested side. You need that to be a force in the finals, and at the end of the year, they were the ones who stayed the course. We didn't.
Petrarca around the corner. It is just relentless pressure from the Demons.
We've played them twice already this season, so we've seen them up close on multiple occasions. They've got so many strengths, clearly. Around the ball, they're pretty stacked. Defensively, they're difficult to penetrate and get through. They're a strong team. They're going to be impressive and obviously pretty tough to beat, but we'll back ourselves in and back what we've got right in.
We're all here for one goal, one common goal, and that's to win a premiership.
I understand why they're favourites. It doesn't mean we don't believe in ourselves.
Hello and welcome to Grand Final Night 2021, and boy, have we gone via the capers, they say in the classics, to get to this position. But here we go. The countdown is on. As you can see, 1 hour, 11 and 10 seconds to go for the grand final between Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs. I look across at Brad Johnson over there, the man who played in the red, white and blue more times than any other. Mate, you can wear your scarf tonight. The famous number 6 is going to be running around on the back of one of the tyros of the competition. Can I ask you straight off the top, how are you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I did get into work probably 2 hours earlier than I was meant to, but outside of that, it was between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. That was the hardest part of the day. Just didn't know what to do. Walking around the house, just had no idea what was going on.
You just wanted to come in and watch yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm on to you.
Yeah, you got me just absolutely spot on. But yeah, look, it's huge. Confident, ready to go.
Thanks to Ford Ranger, we're going to take you right through this grand final, and what a beauty it's going to be. It's so hard to pick this one, isn't it? There's just nothing there. Jonathan Brown has been on the MCG. Not there tonight, unfortunately, for people in Melbourne, but what a game it's going to be at Optus Stadium, mate. You know what it's all about, to play on the biggest stage. Going into this game, it's just a wonderful experience tonight for everybody. I think it's galvanised the country.
It is, Ed. You know, it's what we dream about as kids, you know, growing up. You just want to be on that stage, no matter where the ground is in Australia. The Optus Stadium's a magnificent venue. It'll be great to see it in twilight tonight, which I'm really looking forward to. And you know, you got to feel for the Demon supporters. Much like the Bulldogs supporters 5 years ago, all that anxiety built up. 57 years, it's amazing. And Melbourne supporters have been looking for every excuse under the sun. A good mate of mine, Andrew Laidlaw, his father played in the last premiership for Melbourne. He's convinced that the earthquake the other day, that was the lifting of the Norm Smith curse.
Is that right?
Is that why the epicentre was Mount Buller?
Yeah, that's right, exactly right, Jono. I like that.
He's on! Jono's on fire tonight.
Oh, look at that. As soon as the D's went to pull up, the Dogs just grabbed it away again. Nick Revolt is a man who, on 3 occasions on Grand Final Day, left nothing out there. He gave his heart and his soul. You know all about the build-up to this, mate. You know what it's like. You've been one of the greatest players of all time. Can't wait to get your take on today and just what it all means to everybody in football.
Yeah, you can't help but put yourself in the players' minds. That's where I go. What they're thinking sort of right about now, you're 3 or 4 hours away from knowing whether this day is going to be the best day of your life or it's going to be one that you look back on with a lot of what-if memories. And that's where you go to, particularly in really close grand finals, which I think this has the makings of. It shapes as one of the all-time great games. Late in games, late in the big moments, you just hope that everything you've done in your preparation, for any other game, your preparation is the Monday to Friday. Your preparation from a grand final is everything you've done since you were a kid, has led you to this moment. So you just hope you're able to execute as best you possibly can in the biggest moments.
And for every Melbourne supporter out there, this is what they want to buy in the next 24 hours. This is it. You hold it up there, Brownie. Have a look at that. Mark Knight's Herald Sun Premiership 2021. Of course, it was the great Weg. Bill Green, back in the old days in 1964.
Well,
when they last
Nighty said the other day, when are we going to start calling the night posts in about 50 years' time?
Exactly.
Because we still call them the Wegs.
Well, 1964, they beat the Pies, of course, by 4 points. I was born 1 month later, and I've always said to my Melbourne friends, as long as I've been on the planet, you haven't won one. But it could finish tonight. Jono, hold it up, mate.
Yep, there it is.
You'd like a companion piece to the one you had in 2016. And of course, the Dogs, 1954, 1961, and then a premiership in 2016. They go to their 4th grand final. Right, let's put this man out of his misery now, let him do his cross, and then get the game face on. I speak of this man, and I'm going to give him the full introduction here. 226 games for the Melbourne Football Club. Twice the best and fairest. Twice the leading goal kicker, captain from 1991 to 1997, Hall of Famer, team of the century, and I think he'd trade them all in if he could get one more game tonight for his beloved Demons. That's Gary Lyon. And Gary, welcome, mate. It's an absolute honour and a pleasure to have you here. Take us through what's going through your mind at the moment. You're in the ground, the boys are in the rooms, the liniment is in your nostrils. Let's go, buddy.
I know, I'm 54 years of age yet, and this is the closest thing I've ever felt to the nerves of a game back when we were running around. I've been able to leave my footy career behind and never think about it again, but today, the same feeling in the guts, the same unsettled, and I was nervous and I was angry and I would have been a horrible person to be around until I got here. And then you get into the ground and you relax and you start to look around, and I tell you, boys, this sense of anticipation here in Perth has grown and grown and grown. It is the greatest day. I know you can see this picture behind me. I've been watching both the Dogs and the Demons out there warming up. I'm looking at Cody Waitman. I'm thinking, what's going through your mind, young man? You know, 2 years ago, you're running around the under-18s. I saw Cozzy Pickett walk off the ground with Mark Williams, the whole length of the ground, arm around him and in his ear the whole way out. Ben Brown was there. I mean, it's just extraordinary, the build-up here. And what are we now, an hour and 6? It's been a long wait. It's been a long 2 weeks. I know what it's like, Jono. I got up this morning about 5:30. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I'm here, I'm excited, and I want the damn thing to start.
Gary, you hopefully, for all Melbourne fans who will be presenting the trophy later this evening, good luck for all that. And of course, Chris Grant, if the Dogs get up. I was speaking to Stephen Smith, the former Melbourne superstar and president of the Melbourne Cricket Club, the other day, and he was saying how much he's loved being able to live through you, vicariously through you, all the Melbourne supporters, but the Melbourne players of the past who couldn't get there, who are so desperate for this win tonight, are living through you. Can you give them an insight? Talk to them directly right now, mate.
I've never felt closer to the group, Ed, and you know, after 21 years of playing, and I go into the media and say, you always try and, you know, professionalism says you're at an arm's length, but this has been the greatest reconnection of a footy club that I've seen in this last 2 weeks. Rod Grinner did a great job. The boys will be watching now. They've been sending photos through. They've been, you know, reconnecting generationally, which is so special, and I've loved every minute of it. There's blokes. Gary Baker's travelled from Tassie. He's got over here. The guys from South Australia have come straight in and charged into town. The Western Australian boys are up and about. I ran into Alan Jakovich the other night, and he had a look in his eye that Brownie, he would love to be out here. He'd be taking shots from the 5th row. Don't worry about that. So the boys will be watching. What they've done has been, you know, unbelievable. I know Jono's going to talk about the Dogs, so I don't feel guilty about, you know, just getting stuck into the Melbourne side of it. And it's been special. And I said to them this morning, you know, the hard thing about it is that they're not here to watch, but through this group that they've established, it feels like we're all together, and they're all in their own homes, sadly, because of the situation. And they'll be watching, and boys, we're going to fly the flag hard for you today.
Gaz, I want to bring you your expertise as a fellow key forward and a former key forward of Melbourne to the table here. How important is Ben Brown on the result of this game?
Geez, I haven't done too much analytical work, to be perfectly honest.
Come on,
Brandon.
mate. You've been doing cashies all week.
I'll squeeze one more in before I get that. No, I haven't. I have not been doing that. But listen, I've loved it. I think what got lost a bit in last week, boys, and this would be the only real footy serious stuff I talk about, was this bloke's first 10 minutes. And then in the end, they blew Geelong away. So, you know, you forget about it. And I just thought against a very, very good opponent in Mark Blitzarves, he had his timing back, he had his hands back, he was running some patterns, and I thought he was just sensational. And they went on to win so very well that we didn't have to go back and focus on that first 20 minutes. So I think with him, and I think Gawn's going to go down and stretch him at times. I reckon McDonald's just about due. So I think Ben Brown shapes as a bit of a wild card.
Guys, I reckon you can expect an audit from the ATO next year, so make sure that that's all in order, mate.
Can you stop saying that, please? I've had one of those before.
They're all Melbourne supporters in there anyway.
He'll be fine, Gaz. Mates looking after each other. Hey, Melbourne handled the expectations so beautifully in the prelim. From a pure footy point of view, you've spoken about all the emotion and the club and the togetherness. From a pure footy point of view, what makes you most confident and what makes you most nervous about the game tonight?
The way they handled the last two final series. I mean, they would just look calm, they looked collected, they weren't overawed. They made the footy and the pressure a priority, which in big finals it is. And the system that they've held them in such good stead all year stood up really well. So I'm confident. I know Jono's confident. I've been told to be quick, so I think they're going to kick us all out of here very soon. So bring it on.
Good on you, mate. We know how proud you are to be wearing that tie and what is ahead of you this afternoon, not only for the wonderful honour to present the trophy, if in fact it goes your way, Gary, but as we've said, and all your comrades in arms saying, mate, you're leading from the front again and they're living through you, mate. Have the most wonderful day and good luck this afternoon.
Thanks, Ed. Good on you, mate.
Good on you, Gary. Gary Lyon. There you go. That's what you want. You want to get an insight into how people are feeling. You know that Gary can be a bit taciturn at times and the likes. Well, he is.
That's so true. Around the connection back to the club. We felt that in 2016. Yeah. No question whatsoever. The fact that we just all got involved, we're all a part of it in the rooms. I know it was different training and all those things that we were able to go to at that time just allowed the whole group in the club to come back together on the back of a big grand final.
You know what I'm loving about it was when we spoke to Gary when they won the first final over there, he was a bit embarrassed being in the rooms. I don't want to be one of those blokes, the liniment sniffers and all that. Now he's got it. He's in. And I think the club has reached out so well to the players.
Current players love seeing
They love it. Of course they do.
You saw it with Richo in 17. Matty Richardson, when he was on tears on the boundary line. I mean, they're the moments that once you've moved on, when you're in, and when you're out, you no longer feel like you're really a part of it until something like this happens.
That's right. And look, we try and be level, and Gary said it, you try and be level throughout the home and away season. When the finals come, you're passionate.
That's what
go hard and really enjoy it. Like, that's the thing. Melbourne fans have been extremely nervous, and I get it. But you got to, and now Bulldog, we enjoyed this ride. Last 2016, nervous wrecks. 2021, just loving it, absolutely loving it, and hopefully that smile's still there at the end of the game.
All right, boys, let's get into the game itself. David King and Lee Montagna. Let's find out what they're thinking.
Thanks, Ed. Well, zero lab time again. And, Joey, you were fascinated last time with what the Dogs were able to do to deny the intercept marking of Lever and May.
Yeah, it's going to be another huge tactical battle in this game this afternoon. And when you take a look back to round 19 and the reference point for what the Western Bulldogs tried to do to the Melbourne key defenders. So this is highly unusual that the Western Bulldogs forwards here are actually trying to dictate the matchup that they want. So they wanted Hannon to get to May and they wanted Norton on Lever. That was ideally what the Western Bulldogs wanted. So you can see here it was a real ringer-rosy. It was a battle of wills. And this went on for the majority of the game, in fact. So you can see again here that Mitch Hannon was trying to get to Stephen May. They were actually going after May, not Lever, which I found really fascinating. And they wanted the matchup of Norton to Jake Lever because they felt if they got that, it would suit them. So here's another example. You can see Norton here pointing to, Hannon pointing to Norton. You go to Lever, I'll go to Stephen May. This is what we want, even though we are the forwards. And it was a really fascinating tactical battle. And then what happened, Kingy, in the second quarter is Melbourne gave up on it. The Battle of Wills was won by the Western Bulldogs. Stephen May said, you know what, this is a bit too hard at the moment. I'm getting sick of this ringer-rosy. Lever, you take Norton. I'll stay on Hannon. First opportunity the Western Bulldogs get with the matchup they want, bang, contested mark, shot on goal. A win to the Western Bulldogs. And again later in the quarter, they do the same thing. So this is all in the second term. And at half-time, Kingy, the Western Bulldogs are 6-2 up against Melbourne.
So who learns more out of this? Do Melbourne learn that they've got to stay to what they want? Or do the Dogs say, no, this has worked for us already, we go again?
Well, this is the battle of wills and this is the fascinating matchup. So, again, you see in this situation, the Dogs won what they wanted. They got lever on Norton. Again, another contested mark. So I'm going to look to see who does that this week for the Western Bulldogs. We know Shaki did the job on Aliir. Well, he sort of did a job. I wasn't as convinced it was a great job on Aliir. He still took 6 intercept marks and had 11 intercept possessions. But this game, it worked. The Bulldogs won by 20 points. It was the second highest score Melbourne had conceded all year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Beveridge goes back to the well with the thing that worked 6 weeks ago.
You've got to be able to live with it as a coach, Ed. You know, in 20 years' time when you're in that rocking chair and you think, was it the Shaki matchup that cost me? I'm not convinced Beveridge goes there again.
Yep.
Maybe with Hannon, who knows?
They're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Boys, what do you reckon, Rui? The forward mafia are ready to go. Who's going to take this game by the scruff?
Firstly, it's an honour to join the mafia.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're qualified, John. I think it's I think there's a 6'3" cut-off.
I don't think you're a made man. You're not a made man.
Play tall, boys. Play tall.
Come on, a forward pocket over there. Hey, we're due for a key forward to win a Norm Smith.
We are, absolutely, we are, Brownie. I'm not sure it's necessarily going to be this man, though, in the defensive key forward role, because I think you can take to the bank that Josh Shaki will go to Jake Lever in the similar role to what he did against Aliir last week. And a lot of people have wanted to talk about what a massive impact it had on the game. Aliir still took 6 intercept marks, 11 intercept possessions, and had a great influence intercepting. What he didn't do well was actually use the footy going back the other way. So I think Josh Shaki's role last week in the prelim, or 2 weeks ago in the prelim, has been a little bit overstated. And let's not forget, we're talking about a man that's been in and out of the side in Josh Shaki over the past couple of years, like a yo-yo. So I'm not super nervous if I'm a Melbourne fan about the role Shaki's going to play on
You've put
Lever.
a big circle around him, haven't you, Shaki?
Absolutely.
He plays the game of his life and they're a chance to win. If he plays, maybe up to what he has played in the past,
right.
they might lose.
But I think they'd be nervous.
And he was always there in the vision, though. I think that's what the Bulldogs love, the fact that Aliir may have still done OK in terms of intercepts, but Shaki was there, so he wasn't trying to lead away. He was disciplined with that role, and that's what pleased me.
What I liked about it is they dominated in the first quarter. Where the game was all over at quarter time, so you only need to watch the vision of the first quarter last week. They took 4 contested marks inside their forward 50 in that first quarter alone. And Shaki being able to play central, that means Aliir can't drop off. Imagine that'd be Lever, it can't drop off. And then Norton can launch from the side. This is when he's at his best. And he'll be crashing packs, so May, Lever, sometimes Petty. Maybe if Gawn gets back there, he can disrupt and at least bring the ball to ground and take these big marks. When he's in line with the ball and leads up, he's not as difficult to play on.
He's a really unique forward in that he's a better player when the ball's not kicked to him.
Yeah.
When he's the target and he's got to camp under it or he's got to lead at it, he's a lot easier to defend. But when he's able to run in, float in, that third man in from the side type style, that's when he looks at his most dangerous.
He's the key, I reckon. Norton's got to kick 3 or 4 and kick straight tonight as well. He can't muck up. Can I ask you a question, guys? Just going back to what you're saying about Shaki. How would you get him to play on Lever? Does he stay back shoulder? Does he keep him out of the contest?
Play central, Ed. What you have to do is you can't lead too wide, because as soon as you lead wide, Lever, if he's on you, he'll drop off and go back to where the aerial contest's going to be. So he needs to keep himself in line with the football. Play as central as you possibly can, even to the point where you don't lead as much. Stay central. Play that predictable position, and then you're there, and then at very least you can lock Lever down and avoid getting the intercept mark again. So
I played defensive forward late in my career on Alex Rance. It was the beginning of the end. I knew I was about to get the flick when that happened, but I think what's critical is what's happening up the ground. If you can actually focus on, is it a contested situation? Are they under pressure? Are they rushed? OK, they are. They can't make a good decision. I'm locking on. It's when it's uncontested, there's flow, they've got time and space. That's when you can actually try to get a little bit dangerous.
Does he stay right on his right-hand side? They stop him leaping, jumping, cutting.
Absolutely. When the ball's contested and under heat, in pressured situation up the field, and you know it's going to be a quick hack kick forward, that's when you just lock on. When the ball's, under no pressure, that's when you can move and be creative.
That's why round 19 they like Norton on Lever. And that's where Shaki could go to May, because May's going to position himself back. Shaki loves that role. He was drafted as a player who was last line and can play that really well. He's smart in terms of going back when he's inside 50, but also leading off at the right time as well. So there may be a little bit of a mix-up there at times.
And English, of course, is the other player.
He's the floater.
To take the big mark.
He's got to have an impact.
Petty, I think he'd play on him.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a ripper. There's no doubt about it. Let's go to the newsroom now. John Ralph from the Herald Sun. Ralphie, congratulations to you on a magnificent year, mate, and particularly this week. You've been writing non-stop in the Herald Sun. You've had some great stories. Congratulations on everything, mate. So, grand final night, what do you got for us, buddy?
Hello, Ed. How are you? Great to be with you tonight. There are no late changes. The teams are in. So, James Jordan is the sub. He debuted round 1 for Melbourne as a midfielder, and he hasn't missed a game since. He's been the sub 5 times, and of course, he will play as the 23rd man tonight. Now, the club says that Tom Liberatore will not be tagged, according to their football boss, Alan Richardson. They'll see if he gets out of control first up, but they basically say that they will not tag him early on. For the Western Bulldogs, Lathan Vandermeer is the sub. Now, of course, that wonderful rush point in the final against the Brisbane Lions. Now, he corked his glute in that preliminary final, and a lot of people suggested he might have a hamstring injury. Now, Meet Baines, the club's chief executive, said, look, he never had a hamstring issue, so he will be absolutely ready to get on if it is that he gets onto that ground. A lot of people talking about, well, would one of these two clubs potentially exploit the Medi sub, given, of course, that it is the last chance saloon? As Baines said, it's not what we do. It's not what we represent as a football club. If it is that someone's injured, fair enough, but it certainly will not be a coaching ploy for either of these two sides tonight.
All right, good on you, Ralphie. We'll keep an eye on everything that's happening.
Is Richo being honest there, you reckon? Libba's not getting tagged?
Might be smoke and mirrors. You'd hope it's smoke and mirrors, because otherwise it's a crazy thing to say.
Arms took him out of business in round 11 early in the
So
year.
this is what happens. You tell the truth, anyone calls you a liar anyway. It doesn't matter. If you apologise, you don't apologise loud enough. It doesn't make any difference. Richo's come out, he's told us in good faith, and we've just straight away undermined by Nick Buffon.
No way.
All right, let's catch up with Sportsman.
Mark is suggesting this is going to be the closest grand final in years. Even money on both these. Now, most of the money's been in the big win, little win market at 1-39, suggesting it will be close. This might sound strange, but the dimensions of the ground are leaning me towards the Bulldogs. Marvel, where the Demons won, is small, but at the MCG, wider venue, the Dogs got the job done. Now, Optus is a very big venue for the Dogs to move the ball. Norm Smith medal, Max Gawn has been backed well. So too Bailey Smith, who was 300 when we opened this market. Some players to talk about. Viney, wonderful finals plays, built for finals. I think he gets over 20. I think he gets over 22.5, which is his line. And then Bailey Dale at half-back with that extra room. Have a look at how consistent he's been this year. So he gets over 20. Same game multi. The Dogs, Jack Viney, Max Gawn under, and then Bailey Dale. Good luck if you're punting and gamble responsibly.
Some serious heat, I reckon.
You're watching Grand Final Day on Fox pre-game, brought to you by Ford Ranger.
For the Dogs, the hard road is a familiar one. One their coach is more than happy to walk.
I'm not sure whether there's a coach in the AFL that can motivate his team against the odds like Luke Beveridge.
After all, they tread this path in 2016.
And the western suburbs erupt.
This year, adversity rides shotgun again.
It's the underdogs, undermanned and on the road.
I take my hat off to the Western Bulldogs. They should not be here. They've had travel issues, they've had quarantine issues.
The harder the better. It'll make it even more special to win a flag. I think it's been an absolute masterstroke. Luke Beveridge deserves all the credit in the world.
They're into their 4th grand final in 97 seasons.
They've gone to every corner of the country, collecting bodies, collecting wins. They give no excuses, offer no apologies.
Towards goal! Bailey stands it! Has he got the Dogs into a brilliant final?
It's been hard, but playing the Bulldogs, that's been harder.
The first quarter tonight was plus 23 contested possessions in a quarter of football.
These scrappers from the west of Melbourne have grit.
Game over.
Resilience is stitched into their Guernsey, into their DNA.
Outside the grand finals, this is the best win the club has ever had.
They know this won't be easy. But they don't want it to be.
Ah, yes, the blue-collar Bulldogs. They wouldn't want it any other way, the hard way, just as they did in 2016.
They're all private school boys, aren't they?
What's that?
There's about 14 private school boys in the Bulldogs team.
Their fathers and mothers worked hard to send them there. They're all on scholarship, these blokes. It's unbelievable. But look at the way they've gone. They've been to Perth and back and forth. Well, maybe they're used to flying overseas for their holidays then. And
That's right. Didn't worry too much.
Now, Jono, a lot of people have been talking about, and we'll get into this, about what you're going to talk about, the way the Dogs have got there. But people have been talking about having the week off and having the 2 weeks off, not playing the 21 days for Melbourne Football Club. I think a lot of people have forgotten the old days of the Final Five, which was between 1972 and 1990, where if you finished on top, you had the week off. If you won the second semi-final, you had the preliminary final off. So basically the way Melbourne's gone into it. Do you want a stat that'll make your heart grow a bit fonder?
Very much so, Ed.
In those 19 years of Final Fives, the team that went straight in and the number one seed, finished on top, won the second semi-final and then went on to win the premiership was 7 out of 19. So a third of the teams.
No continuity, Ed. No continuity.
He gets as much to do
Just
with
give the cup to Granny now to go and walk out with it. Thanks very much.
In front of Gary before, but
it's a good stat. It's a good stat here. That's my concern. The inactivity. You know, we know they're rock hard and fit, but the match conditioning, which you can't replicate at training, it's more to do, I think, favouring the Bulldogs in the fact that they've gone hard. They've got their game back going. They're sharp again. Now they've been able to just freshen up. They have a few players with niggles, especially Stephen Martin. Comes back in first game back, a big night in that preliminary final against Lycett. You know, then freshen up. Have 2 weeks off.
The second week's the one that kills you when you come back.
It is, absolutely.
So that's the physical point of view. But there's also the mental point of view within that. And we saw what the Western Bulldogs have been through. There has to be a galvanising effect of being on the road, of being under that sort of adversity as a group. And, you know, Bevo's played a critical role in and amongst all of that.
No question, with not only the players but the staff as well, the whole club that are on the road all together. And it's been huge. We saw the travel there, what they've had to go through and living, you know, in hotels, not allowed out of their rooms except to go to training as soon as they get back, and staying on buses for over an hour just to get off, and all the things that they've had to deal with. And that's fine. But it comes down to Bevo, no question, in the way he's galvanised. And I love what he said last week in the prelim final build-up.
23 rocks in the room. Intensity, concentration in every aspect of what we do. Get the simple things done right. That flint hard discipline in what we do. Military-like, louder than we ever have been out here. Find them out there at the 10-minute mark disappointed about how hard we're working in comparison to them. Take strength in each other. This is team building. This is connections. The spirit in the room has never been stronger. This game ain't done. All right, still real heavy lifting to be done. We've got them on edge. Their crowd is into them now as they walk off the ground. They underestimated how big our hearts are.
That's the one there. They underestimated how big our hearts are. You can see that. You can see that. In the history of the club, they've had, you know, Charlie Sutton with Shop Early, or EJ, you need to inspire me, the famous vision in his last game of footy. Yeah. That'll sit there. They win today. That sits alongside the two greats.
He's created a real us against them sort of narrative, hasn't he? Particularly, I think, based on the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, where the Dogs dropped right off. So I think that's why Melbourne are such big favourites coming into this game, because of that recency bias. But when we cast our minds back, round 2021, top two teams in the competition, Western Bulldogs and Melbourne. So their best has been clearly the best.
And round 19, the Bulldogs beat Melbourne at the MCG, you know, Melbourne's home. So, and they won, you know, they won by 20 points that night, but they were fantastic.
And it's interesting, isn't it? As much as it's killing the Melbourne supporters, and our hearts really bleed for you that you're not being able to beat the MCG for that. It's probably the best thing for the team, though, to be away from all the carry-on and just be able to get it in themselves. So it's amazing what's going on. It's just going to be a fantastic game of football. I can't wait. Now, Chemist Warehouse, our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. The player in focus we want to have a look at is, in fact, Stephen Martin.
Yeah, he's probably the most important player on the ground, I think, you know, because we all know if Max Gawn gets hold of the Bulldogs like he did against Geelong a couple of weeks ago, it's game over. So, Stephen Martin, I played with Steph. He's best mates with Maxie, or very close, and Maxie rates him as the strongest ruckman in the competition in terms of when you go in a one-on-one against him. So, Stephen Martin, first game back after a long spell, Rui, he just competed. So, yes, he hasn't got his jump there. He's physically not at his absolute best. He can run, even though he's probably not at his absolute fittest at the moment, but he's very strong around the ground, and he may challenge Maxi by pushing forward like that.
The Dogs needed that. Against Brisbane, Oscar McInerney was over the top and they were just pushing the ball forward and getting out the front. And they've needed Steph back in the side. Bevo held on him when they're under pressure in terms of their centre bounce work. They released him last week. Now the break, he should be ready to go.
Now, Brownie, I've got to ask you this, all right? Charlie Sutton, the spirit of Charlie Sutton was shop early and avoid the rush, which meant belt them nice and early, right? If you're Stephen Martin, you're looking across at the best ruckman in the caper and you've lost your jump. You only have to jump that far to stick your knee into his thigh, don't you?
He's got to crash
Are you going to go hard?
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to crash in. And where he can wear Maxi down, he is incredibly strong. So he'll want to wrestle him. He'll want a lot of stoppages around the ground, boundary throwing his ball up. So he may be able to affect Maxi in that regard, Rui. So I'm really looking forward to that battle. That's the pivotal matchup of the game.
You're spot on, and this is why. Because in the latter part of the season for the Western Bulldogs, they had non-competitive rucks. And what that meant for a midfield that we've lauded all season, they bat so deep, all of these things. Have a look at the numbers there from round 19 to 23. Look at the last one, the drop-off, points against from Clinton. They were smashed. I mean, they've gone from top of the ladder sort of stats to bottom. So their mids just weren't in a position to compete at ground level because of the non-competitive ruck work. So Steph Martin back into the team, he doesn't need to put it on a platter. Nah. He just needs to give that brilliant midfield a 50-50 chance to win it at ground level, because we know that's their game. That's such a pivotal part of the way the Bulldogs set up to win games.
And maybe rough Maxi up a little bit, you reckon, Ed?
Well, I think he has to. I think he has to.
That's competing.
Because we know that Max has, when people have really put the time into him, he hasn't...
Spot on.
In one game, Port Adelaide did it early in the year. We called the game, I think, where they just went to him. They belted into him. The Dogs have said they're going to do that.
No doubt Bevo would have brought that up.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. They showed that. They spoke about it. Hunter mentioned it during the week. And I'm sure that as Max tries to run down the ground, I mean, there's 5 goals they can knock off for Melbourne easily if they could stop Max Gawn from last week. He kicked 5.
That's right.
If he kicks 5 tonight, he gets the Norm Smith medal and he doesn't buy a drink in Melbourne for the rest of his life. But
that's a good
if they can stop him, Stephen Martin, and whatever it takes, within the rules obviously, but you're allowed to do these things in the rules.
I think any time you bring up this subject, people think, it's the old days, like, whacking blokes behind playing. No, it's not that. It's just being annoying. Walking past him, getting in his way, so Maxi just can't run around at will. Players just walking past, putting a little bit of body on him here and there, and all of a sudden Maxi gets a quarter time and goes, geez, I'm getting buffeted.
So does he have to say goal side of Max all the time so that he has to go past him?
It's a really simple thing. If you're Luke Beveridge, you say, be hard to play against. Interpret that how you want, but be hard to play against. When Max Gawn comes off the ground, he needs to say, gee, he was hard to play against.
Absolutely, and that'll set up the game for the Bulldogs. If they win, this will set that up, because in 88% of the time they've won the contested possession game. They have won the game of football. So clearly we know that both midfields are fantastic, but even more so for the Bulldogs, it is critical to be able to get all the numbers around there and really overwhelm Melbourne like they have in a lot of teams. Now, one of the guys I'll be looking for is Caleb Daniel. In that round 19 clash, #1 rated player on the ground. He started as a half forward, but Bevo very quickly realised there's an opportunity to expose Melbourne. So rolled him up to the back of the stoppage. He played as a half back, and he was their creator on the night. Did a lot of damage. I was very surprised that Simon Goodwin didn't alter his game style and at least pick Caleb Daniel up. He was able to run away at will, really, from stoppages. He's their architect. He's their creator. He's the one that can see the field like no other. Also, too, he can add another layer to that defensive sort of stoppage area, because, as we know, Melbourne just came out of the front of the stoppages against Geelong last week. So here we go here. Adds another layer, almost in a sweeper position, and helps create the play. He's the one, too, that'll help try and get the ball back into the corridor. And then in general play, what he does, he stays connected to the field, stays connected to the footy, Rui. And this is where he's really vulnerable, because Melbourne players lose him in play. They don't know where he is. They're obviously watching the football, and this is what can happen.
Yeah, it's so critical against a side like Melbourne, who set up so well behind the footy, to get the ball in the hands of your best decision makers and your best users. So for the Dogs, that's Bailey Dale, that's Caleb Daniel. If they're finding the footy and delivering it, the D's defence will be at sea a little bit.
And Jono, that's the key to not putting it down Lever's throat and allowing him to come in.
That's right. That change of direction with ball movement. Yeah. He's got the class to do it. So is Bailey Dale. So is Williams. We look at the class and what they do in the middle of the ground and their elite ball users that they do have on the outside as well. But it's the little 1%ers that haven't gone unnoticed throughout the year. The little tap on here, the kick out of trouble, but also the smother men, Cody Waitman and Josh Dunkley. Now, you've got two guys that aren't afraid. They don't smother by putting one hand up or turning their back on the kicker. they're right up on the boot of the kicker. And it's an elite craft, and especially Dunkley, because a lot of his are through the mid part of the ground. So they turn into, opportunities to go and score. Cody Waitman's excellent at it inside forward 50 to lock the ball in. But that there can't be underestimated, how important that is in a big grand final in particular. He's done it all year, expect him to do it again today.
Yeah, the smother and the shepherd were two skills that seem to have been going out of the game.
That's right.
And certainly...
Look at that.
Not with premiership teams. It's
No.
valued in premiership teams, absolutely. It's a key stat. It's a good pickup.
I won't mention it.
Well, smothers are important.
We know they're important, Ed. It wasn't lost on me, don't worry. I was sitting there, what are they talking about?
Nick Davis, how do the Demons win this game?
Let me gather myself there. Look, the catch cry from Simon Goodwin throughout the finals is just be us. And I agree with that to a point, because I think he's got a real decision to make tonight with what do you do with respects to taking away the greatest asset of the opposition. For the Western Bulldogs, that's their ability to win it and chain out by hand from stoppage. Number one team in the competition at being able to do that. The way they do it a lot of the time is they get an extra number at stoppages. So they get competitive ruck work from Martin, we've spoken about, and then they can win it at ground level and they can hurt you with their legs, with their handball that we know is so creative and so clean. So Port Adelaide rolled the dice. They said, hey, Dogs, you can have the extra number at stoppage. We'll take the extra number behind the ball and bank that you're going to kick it to us. So Melbourne defensively, that's the way they've set up a lot of stages this year, is they'll take the extra behind the ball. We heard from Kingy and Joey earlier, banking on the pressure around the ball at the contest, meaning you'll kick it to us and we'll get our intercept game going. I'm not sure that Simon Goodwin can play that game tonight because the Dogs are so unique and so good in that part of the game. That being said, defensively, Melbourne have been unbelievably good this year. Not just the best in the competition this year, but the best any year. You roll out this stat for Melbourne, they are the best team on record at defending the ball when it comes into their defensive 50, which I think gives them the edge. You know, you look at it, talent v talent, they match up, they're beautifully evenly poised, but the system v system, I think, is where Melbourne have the edge tonight.
The impressive part is how quick they get into that defensive mode. There's no player just resting behind the ball whatsoever. Even the forwards are up quick, defending corridor, so that they can keep the opposition exactly where they want them.
Yeah, so to look at, say, the way other teams have done it against them this year, against the Western Bulldogs, you only have to look at the best coach, and that's Alistair Clarkson, Brownie, the way he did it.
Yeah, you always like to look at it when a team's been stitched up, and as the Bulldogs were a few weeks ago, by Hawthorn, who finished down towards the bottom of the ladder. Alistair Clarkson, the master coach, he just looks and goes, right, how do the Doggies want to beat us? They want to overwhelm us through handball chains out of the middle of the ground. So what do? Just man them all up. So at some stages there was 8v8, 9v9 midfielders. So that was the one rule for Hawthorn. They didn't allow Bulldogs to chain out. And have a look at this. This is a great example. Look at that. Clearly that's what the Bulldogs want to do. They want to handball out. Look at all the Hawthorn numbers there. Yeah. And that day, they were actually absolutely cleaned up by the Hawthorn Football Club. And he's a pretty young team, to be honest.
So what you do then is you put all your faith in your numbers behind the ball if you're Melbourne to win it one-on-one. Back May in one-on-one. You're comfortable with that? Absolutely, because we showed the stat before how strong they've been defensively. What that means then is when they go forward, they've only had to kick 65 points this year. They've been that good defensively. They only need to hit 65. They've only lost one game when they've done that this year.
Unbelievable.
Your family's pretty talented, Jono. You have a daughter called Ella J.
Yes,
now
I have.
Tell me about the band she's in. Called, what are they called?
Oh no, she did this song with 10 High Fly.
10 High Fly.
It's called
right?
The Bond.
Right, so
yeah, so it's a.
Tell me about how did it come about? Did she write the song?
Yeah, she wrote it with the guys at 10 High Fly, and it was just a bit of a footy song more than anything. It turned into a little bit about the Bond as well, and the way that he plays his footy. It's great timing as well. With obviously even did well on the Brownlow, and he's in a grand final.
Has your daughter found a new hero? Do you think?
Oh yeah, big time. Don't worry about that. Between Josh Dunkley and the Bond, there's no room in the house.
It's called The Bond. Have a listen to this.
It's a Marcus Bunton Parish show.
John, I'll be singing that a cappella style after the game tonight.
Everyone will be. If he kicks 3 and that's 30, look out.
Yeah, good.
How good is he?
Unbelievable. Look, what he's done throughout the season. He's turned into probably the best player in the competition. I know his last 3 weeks weren't as good as what he would have liked as an individual within the team structure, but he's been able to turn it around in this final series. He's led extremely well. He loves that leadership aspect, and he's got a presence. You need your captain to have presence. When you walk out behind a leader, you want them to, you're in great hands, and Bont delivers that for the Dogs.
Yeah, it was magnificent, that round 19 game against Melbourne, that good win. And an area to watch that game where he dominated was there was a lot of forward 50 stoppages that night in the Bulldogs forward line. They scored 37 points from that area of the ground, and Bont was the major damage.
Well, they didn't go to him, did they?
Well, they didn't go to him. They didn't man him up. So if there's a stoppage in the Bulldogs forward 50 tonight, that'll be one to watch, because surely Simon Goodwin and the boys would have gone to work on that and said, whatever you do not leave Marcus Bontempelli standing on his own 15 metres out
left leg in.
That's right, particularly on his dominant side. There's a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure on a player like this that featured so prominently in the Brownlow medal. He's the captain. He's widely regarded as one of the best players in the competition, going into the grand final with an expectation to perform. But I think for Marcus Bontempelli, the best thing he's got going for him is he looks around that engine room. He's got Smith, he's got Treloar, he's got McRae, he's got Dunkley, he's got Hunt. He has so many running mates alongside him to just take a little bit of that pressure off and allow him to build into his game and not panic and hit the panic button early if it's not going to plan.
Spot on. Feel like it's not all up to him. Yeah. And sometimes you get caught in that mode.
100%
I've got to do it all when you're in that position of a bit of stress, a bit of pressure, not winning, side starting to struggle a little bit. But you're right, he's got others around that can help fill the void.
Now you can tell us now, because the Melbourne, they're not listening anymore. They're about to run out and play in the grand final. How's his leg?
No dramas whatsoever. There was nothing really wrong. There was nothing wrong with his knee. Anyway, it was more the back of his calf. Yeah, so he was
he got
no dramas.
He
just got landed on. So took a bit of weight through that. This 2 weeks off would just prep him up perfectly. Yet
down at Cottesloe Beach for a swim. Yeah,
that's it.
Brand new.
Yeah.
A couple of massages, which you're not allowed to get here in Victoria, but anyway, you'll be right. Brand new.
It's all right, Brownie. They're all going to stand up and clap for us at 2021. It's a nice
that's right.
360, don't forget, on Monday night we'll go through everything that's happened in the grand final. And don't forget our friends at Ford Range are doing great things for us. On the couch, Brownie and the boys, one last time. And won't Gary be up if the Demons get home? That's Monday at 8:30 on Fox Footy.
You're watching Grand Final Day on Fox pre-game, brought to you by Ford Ranger.
He's still got the magic. Herky jerky, shake and bake. Beautiful. Sidestep Sam Walsh. That is not possible. Big barrel. Oh, a big barrel.
That was an extraordinary evening at the Opera.
He might have disrupted his drink. Whiteman! Got it to Perkins, and it's just class. His bets. Holds it one-handed. Bends it through for a goal.
How is the finishing touches?
Oh, boy, O'Brien!
My advice to you is do not touch that ball.
Eddie Betts hacks it out of midair. Oh, what a goal! Frederick! Dusty!
Oh, it's allowing you
Never gonna be the same.
It's terrific to have people back in the stands.
My mama told me not to fear my enemies. Know that I'm stronger than I think I am. Take any longer, it runs.
A little snapshot of everything that is great about our game.
78,000, the biggest sporting crowd since the world went into lockdown.
It's never gonna be the same.
We need the rest of Australia to stand up, to fight, to stamp it out, because there is no room for racism in Australia.
My mama told me not to fear my enemies.
As far as coaching the Magpies is concerned, buck stops here.
It's never gonna be never gonna be, never
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
gonna be the same.
The footy gods have done it again.
The best reality TV in the world is AFL football.
Here's the next chapter. He's got it! Brisbane have won! Every boy dreams of this. And Melbourne are minor premiers.
It's through! He's won the game for Geelong! He got down, he got up again! So wrong, so right! The sun dips when I'm up in your face. You're not a drop of energy left, except for Kelly! Love for the place where I bled for my dreams and struggle for change. We still striving, we still will love.
Is this the match winner? Oh, Family's Day!
Right, it's on question. You still feel the problem on. Ring the bell in the city of Chichester.
Look at him.
Unbelievable.
Can Bailey Smith score towards goal? Has he got the Dogs into a brilliant final? Handball inside to Gorm. 55 metres. Takes out the driver. Sets sail for home. What about this game? What about this season?
What a big year it has been in footy, and once again underlining this year and last year just how important football is to the fabric of our society. We live it and love it, and it's been everything since we were little boys, and for all the young girls now coming up and having the dream to be able to play football. But you look at those highlights and what the umpires and the coaches and Gil McLaughlin and everyone at the AFL, what everyone's been able to do, everyone in the media, providing the sort of backdrop to what has been a really tough 18 months. It's been
It'd be
so
a boring life without it, Ed. Footy last 2 years.
The old Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Exactly.
I've got a good stat for you today, Ed. You know, the first today.
Janet Jackson?
It was just random.
Is that right?
It was Janet Jackson.
I haven't got any Janet Jackson stats.
John, we'll go to your daughter's a
big yellow taxi, mate.
Anyway, keep going, Brownie. Here we go. The what ifs, Brownie.
You know, there's no player out there today that's played 200 games. Unbelievable. First time since 1971 that both grand final teams don't have 200 game players. So this could be a sign for the future. You know, these two teams could be going at it for the next few years. Absolutely. So.
A lot of talk around Josh Dunkley, what his role will be. I think today, whether and some of the finals so far, he's gone onto a midfielder when they've just looked like they're just starting to step out of control or control the game. So if an Oliver gets out of control or a Petrarca, then Dunkley's got the body size to go match them.
He looks set for that. You know, he's got the body size for it. As does Harms on, Harms on Liberatore. No doubt about it. You know, because he goes and does it in round 11, I think. Why would they go away from that?
Well, I just wonder whether Simon Goodwin got to that, or they got to that point and they thought, we're a fair chance to come up against these guys, and so you keep a little bit of your powder dry, knowing that we're top four, we're going to be there. About do we put all of our secrets out there now, or do you just have one up your sleeve? I think all of the midfielders though that we're talking about have shown a capacity to be able to deal with it. Even Oliver last in the prelim when Selwood went to him, we could see them, Petrarca and Oliver, creating 2v1s and working their way through it. I think Libba will be the same. He'll be armed with something to go to tonight if Harms does come to him.
And as Joni Mitchell sang in Big Yellow Taxi, Melbourne don't know what they've got till it's gone.
I reckon Janet might have done a version. A little bit off Broadway.
She's done a cover somewhere.
Candy Crush did that. That was what it was.
She's trying to fill up a set one night. What about another one of the matchups? So Bailey Smith who's been the player of the finals clearly. 8 goals. Yeah, 8 goals, been amazing. So you know who matched up on him? I think the Melbourne wingers have to play really well defensively tonight, which they do have. Langdon and Brayshaw have been fantastic for them. So at some stage they're going to have to really watch Bailey Smith spinning out the front of the stoppages wide. So you wouldn't expect. I'm not sure he gets a tag on him, but certainly those wingmen will be very wary of him going in.
Well, it's the outside game, isn't it? That's where it could be won or lost when you look at what the class of both and the contested way they play. Who's successful on the outside? So if it's Smith or Hunter, or whether it's Brayshaw or Langdon on the wings.
Yeah. What about Cozzy Pickett? There's always a small forward. You feel as if the small forwards could get away from him. One of the small forwards from either team could get away and maybe kick 3 or 4 goals. That's been a bit of the year of the small forwards. This man, Taylor Duryea, has done a fantastic job, and Charlie Cameron the second half a couple of weeks ago. But you feel as if Pickett is the one that could really explode in a game like this.
Different though, different type of player in essence. Charlie Cameron was lead up mark. Pickett's sharp behind the contest, gets to the front and square work is elite.
The Melbourne small forwards have got roles to play offensively and defensively. Like Neil Bullen, you'd expect to go to Daniel or to Bailey Dale, and the same with maybe Espargo. So the Melbourne small forwards are going to be a really interesting watch.
Boys, time to get your Norm Smith medalist and your tips. We'll just get Robbie to bring in the week posters, the Mark Knight posters. Sorry, Mark. Here we go. So I don't think we have to worry too much. You're going hold it up. Who's going to win?
That's who's going to win.
And
the
who's
Dogs.
going to win the Norm Smith
I've got
medal?
Josh Dunkley winning, and I've got the Dogs winning by 10 points.
Okay, Rui?
Yeah, D's for me, just over 3 goals. And Petrarca for the Normies. He's had the most shots of any midfielder this year. He'll kick straight tonight and get it done.
Jono, sort of...
Put it away, Jono.
Sorry, Jono. No, I think Melbourne and Maxi, just to finish off a fairy tale, a couple of weeks, Maxi gone. First premiership captain for the D's in 57 years, and what an icon he'll be. He might have a statue at the MCG, Ed.
Okay, so you've got till it's gone.
Yeah, Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson.
We've got a little sideshow going on here. We're doing Molly Meldrum's countdown. What's going on here?
Been a long year, Brownie. Been a long year.
Forget the grand final. Let's talk about. I'm going for the Doggies. Right?
Yes.
Only because I'm a Collingwood man.
2 and 2.
Can't have Melbourne.
No, you can't.
Extra time, Ed.
Norm Smith.
I'm going for extra time, and I'm going for Cody Waitman to be that small forward who does the big act tonight to win the game for the Dogs. There you go.
2-2.
All right, guys. Good luck to everybody. It has just been a wonderful build-up. Sincerely to the supporters of both Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs, you're in for the ride of your life right now, and you deserve it because your two teams have been simply outstanding this year. We'll see you at half-time. Come back to us here at half-time. You can see there we'll have the best analysis in the business at half-time. And after the game, we look forward to going to see Gary Lyon. Bring it on. It's the 2021 AFL Grand Final between Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs.